Good morning.
Good morning.
Sound like two of you wasn't so excited about being here. And as I often remind us, that we were put here by God to perform God's mission. Regardless what our gender might be, we were put here. What our financial status, we were put here to perform God's mission, die and go back home, and that can be applied to any theological concept. First, I want to thank the press for being present here this morning as we discuss this issue. This morning, the Concerned Black Clergy called on local and state prosecutors, the governor of Georgia, and the Atlanta Journal-Constitution to stop their attacks on the public school and public educators in general. The recent move by Fulton County District Attorney Paul Howard to empower prosecutors Mike Bowers and Bob Wilson is disturbing, reprehensible, and misguided. We expect our prosecutors to go after criminals and not our educators. This criminalization process negatively impacts our schools, our students, our teachers, and our ability to attract business and to create jobs for Metro Atlanta and all of Georgia. We expect our governor to show amends for 3 centuries of disparity amongst education opportunities for Black Georgians. During these current difficult economic times, Georgia leadership cannot engage in a costly witch hunt on Black teachers' school children. Already, over $1 million of taxpayers' money have been wasted on a useless investigation that has the intent to trash public education. We expect Atlanta Journal-Constitution, the paper that wrote against integration in 1950s, to acknowledge its role in undermining the education aspiration of Black Georgians. Throughout the 1950s, this reporting body of biased news aided and abetted racist leaders in denying equal education to Black Georgians. We expect for reporters and editors to acknowledge the role of education disparity and not pretend that history doesn't exist. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution recently wrote that Dr. Beverly Hall has failed to close the gap between white and Black students. Considering 300 years of education denied to Blacks in Georgia, this is a ridiculous expectation when considering the bad behavior of Georgia for administering to public education. We expect for educational leaders to tell the truth about standardized testing. They must acknowledge that in Georgia, there is no standard. Throughout this nation and in Georgia, for centuries, there was one standard for white students and a far lower standard for Black students. Currently, standardized testing fails to acknowledge our history and denies the impact of centuries' educational opportunity. Standardized testing is cheating our students out of a genuine education. Next month, this nation in Georgia will celebrate the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He taught us that the function of education is to teach one to think intensively and critically. Intelligence plus character is the goal of true education. Standardized testing falls short of Dr. King's ideal. We at Concerned Black Clergy herald the message of the prophetic voice that education of people and children are a reconciling mission to which the community is called. Therefore, standardized testing cannot measure initiative, creativity, imagination, conceptual thinking, curiosity, efforts to build and improve, goodwill, ethical reflection, and a host of other valuable attributes. Southern states with high African American population were among the first to impose standardized testing, despite their history of denying the equal education of Blacks. Was this initiative to stigmatize Black students for the many disparities in Georgia and other southern states in which standardized testing was created? Standardized tests create the condition for cheating by measuring students' achievement and teachers' performance solely on the basis of test results. Will we put teachers in jail? That help students pass because they knew or they know that students were smarter than the test measure. The federal government exempts all 58 schools supporting 30,000 students of military personnel on this nation's military bases because from testing and other criteria mandated by No Child Left Behind requirements. What does this tell us about standardized testing? Despite the emphasis on standardized testing, where this initiative is costly to taxpayers, testing is a $500 million to $700 million a year business for large testing companies. Testing is big business that creates conditions for profits, greed, and the means to discredit education for blacks and the public school system.
That's right, that's right.
Recognizing that fraud, waste, and abuse of resources and taxpayers' money that perpetuates trashing public education, Concerned Black Clergy called for a cease to the prosecution and persecution of the Atlanta school system by a state and a newspaper company that has created and sanctioned disparities. Members of Concerned Black Clergy and other community leaders will request a meeting with the District Attorney Paul Howard, as well as representatives from SAC, that is the Southern Association of College and Schools, to be able to share our concerns regarding the direction of the Atlanta public school system. Paul Howard has been misguided and has joined the forces of those who dare to destroy public education. And we want to meet with him and discuss how we can become meetings of the mind so that our black children will not suffer. Those of you that are young and think that we have arrived, you want to know that in this issue you are mistaken and you need to take notice that Concerned Black Clergy, we're going to talk. But after the talk, we want to let them know about our toolbox so that we can change the minds of those who dare destroy us. Those of you that have arrived, you only receive crumbs that have fell from Master's table. But when we come together to fight this terrible thing, we can get half of the loaf. And we will fight. You can bet on that in order to change this way of thinking about our black children and about black people in general. Thank you for letting me share.
Teach it, preacher. Teach it.